Hey again, Matthew, Conscious Recovery, and I just wanted to make another video kind of following up on yesterday's video because I was having a bit of a rough day. Yeah, things were not feeling very good for me, and so I made what I called like a crisis video, which is basically just me trying to force myself to be vulnerable. I want to show people out there that, even 10 years in, even though I know all the solutions, I still have bad days, and everybody has bad days. And so it's not so much about having a day where you feel like everything's going wrong, even if you have a week where you feel like everything's going wrong. It's about how you respond to that and having sort of a protocol, like a list of things that you do to get through and manage these kinds of feelings. That to me is what recovery is all about. It's ongoing maintenance. And so I wanted to follow up on that and say that, first of all, like what I did yesterday worked. I went for a good walk in the woods. It was hot, I was sweaty, I had my heart rate up, and just being out in the forest turned things around for me. But I also mentioned another strategy that I tried before that fell flat, that didn't really work for me, and that's cognitive reframing or thought reframing. And I wanted to follow up on that because thought reframing actually is a very reliable strategy for me in a lot of ways. So I wanted to expand on it and start talking about how you can use it regularly. And to do that, I need to talk about something called cognitive distortions. Dr. Aaron Beck was a psychologist back in the 60s, and he noticed in talking with patients with like depression, anxiety, various mental problems, that they had very similar ways of thinking. They kept falling into what he called like traps, like thought traps. And he identified 10 of them, okay? And if you can identify any of these thought traps in yourself, if you can notice yourself doing them, recognize you engaging in these cognitive distortions, well, then you can choose to respond differently and you can start to flip them, do these thought reframing exercises that I've talked about. And then you can save yourself some unnecessary stress, okay? So cognitive distortions, there's 10 of them. And I'm gonna start today with, in no particular order, the first one I'm talking about is called all or nothing thinking. Okay? All or nothing thinking is very much what it sounds like. You think in very rigid and extreme terms. It's either left or right, black or white, yes or no, pass or fail, right? And there's very little room for nuance. There's nothing in between the two extremes of the spectrum. And unfortunately, life just doesn't work like that. And so when we think on the extremes, we feel on the extremes. So one of the things I experienced yesterday was feeling like a failure, okay? That's something that pops up for me. Inadequacy, it's kind of like part of my core belief system. It's something that I notice and I'm trying to change and trying to get rid of. So far, no luck, but I notice it, I work on it, and it doesn't do too much damage anymore. But let's think about that idea of failure for a second. All or nothing thinking. So I felt like a failure, okay? That's pretty far into the extreme. Does that mean I fail in everything, like my entire life? No successes whatsoever? Of course not. But the feeling doesn't care about that. It doesn't care about the reality of your situation. It's just a feeling. So what we have to do is we have to learn to balance the feelings out with our thoughts. Challenge these ideas, challenge these feelings. And so I feel like a failure. One of the things I do is I start asking myself questions critical of that idea. Am I a failure? Okay. Well, certainly, yeah, I'm not where I want to be in life, and I've kind of failed in this and this and this regard. So I can point to instances where you could say I'm a failure, but that's not the whole story. The whole story is, yes, I've had failures, but also I've had success after success after success. Like there's a lot of good things happening in my life as well. And so we have to engage a little bit of critical thinking. You don't just feel like a failure and say, well, that's, case closed, that's what I am. No, you have to challenge that idea and say, okay, so I might have failed on this and this, but how many successes can I count? How many things are going well? Because we have a little trick in our minds where the negative things that happen to us, the things that are going wrong, always feel really big. But when we have things that go right, things that are going well, the feelings are small. And so they don't balance each other out unless we learn to cognitively pay attention to the things that are going well. So that's what I typically try to do. I try to force myself to counter the failure with as many successes as I can. And then once I've got the feeling to calm down, once the failure feeling has settled down a little bit, well, then I can start, actually problem solving and trying to figure out ways, okay, so if this is a failure, what do I do about it? How can I make it better? What's something I can do today to help? Okay? And you cannot think your way out of a problem if your feelings are out of control. So for me, number one is always regulate the body, then regulate the emotions, and then try to come up with some sort of a problem-solving thing. Like, let's try to figure our way out of this. That's one example of all or nothing thinking. There could be many more. It even shows up in the language you use. Watch out for absolutes like always or never. Those are really fun when you're having an argument. You always do this to me. It's an example of all or nothing thinking. Instead, don't go to the extremes on one end or the other. Try to find in the middle ground where the truth of your life actually is. And you'll find when you go to the middle and you're away from those extremes, the emotions are also balanced in the middle. So that's the first cognitive distortion I'm talking about. I'll do another one in my next video and we'll just go from there. Thank you. See ya.